The girl stood frozen on the edge of the road, her heart pounding so loudly it felt like the world could hear it. To anyone else, she looked like just another scared child waiting for someone. But behind her eyes lived a terror too deep for words. Every step she took was watched, every breath felt borrowed. She knew she had only one chance. As the roar of motorcycle engines grew louder, hope flickered inside her chest. A biker gang approached, leather jackets glinting under the fading light. They weren't heroes in a storybook, just men riding through another day. But to her, they were everything. She couldn't scream, she couldn't run. One wrong move could cost her life, so she did the only thing she could. Her eyes locked onto theirs. Not a glance, an unbroken stare filled with fear and pleading. Slowly, almost invisibly, she raised her hand and formed a small, trembling signal she'd once learned in school. A silent cry for help. A gesture meant for moments when words could get you killed. For a split second, nothing happened. Then one biker slowed down. Another turned his head. The leader's grip tightened on the handlebars. They saw it, the fear that couldn't be faked, the desperation no child should ever know. In that moment, the road, the ride, the destination, none of it mattered anymore. The engines didn't fade into the distance. They stopped. That single look, that tiny movement of her hand, shattered the silence and changed everything. Because sometimes salvation doesn't come with sirens or shouting. Sometimes it arrives on two wheels, answering a cry that was never spoken, but was heard loud and clear. The moment the bikers understood, there were no debates, no second thoughts. They didn't need explanations or proof. Years on the road had taught them to read danger in a single glance, and what they saw in that girl's eyes was pure terror. That was enough. The leader raised his hand, and within seconds the formation shifted. Engines growled as they turned back together, moving like one body with one purpose. No phones came out, no one asked who she was or how she got there. On that road, time mattered more than rules. Ahead, a van slowed, its brake lights blinking. The bikers closed in, surrounding it from both sides, their presence impossible to ignore. Leather jackets, heavy boots, and cold determination sent a clear message. Something was wrong, and they weren't going anywhere until it was fixed. Inside the van, panic replaced control. The driver's hands shook. He hadn't planned for witnesses, especially not men who looked ready to stand between him and freedom. The bikers blocked the road, engines roaring like a warning. Every second they bought was a second closer to saving her. One biker stayed with the girl, positioning his bike in front of her like a shield. He spoke softly, telling her she was safe now, even if none of them fully knew how this would end. Others scanned the area, watching every movement, prepared for anything. They weren't thinking about consequences. They weren't thinking about headlines or praise. All that mattered was one simple truth. A child was in danger, and they were the only ones close enough to act. Sometimes heroes don't wear badges or capes. Sometimes they wear helmets and ride straight into trouble, without questions, without fear, and without turning back. The kidnappers thought fear would keep everyone away. They believed intimidation was enough, that no one would dare interfere, but they had never faced brotherhood. When the bikers surrounded them, there was no chaos, no reckless violence, only calm, unbreakable unity. They stood shoulder to shoulder, engines idling like a low warning growl. Each biker knew his place, watching, every angle, protecting one another without a single word spoken. It was clear they had done this all their lives. Not crime, but loyalty. The kidnappers panicked. They saw not individuals, but a family bound by trust and honor. Every escape route was blocked. Every move was watched. The confidence they once had drained away as they realized they were outmatched, not by force alone, but by solidarity. At the center of it all stood the girl, shaking but unbroken. One biker gently placed his jacket around her shoulders, shielding her from the cold and the fear. For the first time in hours, maybe days, she felt safe. Her small act of courage had summoned something far bigger than she ever imagined. When authorities arrived, the scene left them stunned. Witnesses gathered, whispering about what they had seen, how strangers became protectors, how fear lost to unity. Phones recorded, stories spread, and by nightfall the entire city was talking. But the bikers didn't stay for praise. One by one, they mounted their bikes and rode off, disappearing into the streets like shadows at dawn. They left behind a rescued child, shaken kidnappers, and a lesson the city wouldn't forget. Because when fear met brotherhood, fear didn't stand a chance, and one brave girl proved that even the smallest signal can change everything.